If you sell to the EU, you absolutely need to watch this video because this new policy comes into place today. And if you plan to continue selling to the EU, you need to comply. This new policy that we need to comply to is called the GPSR, which is the General Product Safety Regulation. And it is not great news for those of us who like to sell within the EU because it comes with a whole bunch of rules and laws which might make it worth it to actually turn off EU shipping, or I'm going to show you how to comply if you do plan to continue selling within the EU. So within Etsy, to be able to sell to the EU, you need to have what is called an economic operator, which is a point of contact of responsibility for someone in the EU, which I'm going to guess you don't have. But luckily, if you use a supplier like Printify has created and found their own economic operator that all of us can use if you are using Printify. Within Printify, if you now go to your store settings, you're going to see this new section called GPSR. And we have a toggle here of I don't intend to sell in Europe and I intend to sell in Europe. So if you do plan to continue selling to Europe, you're going to flip this on. And now you can see all of our information here, which is our economic operator. This is not something you need to plug in. This right here, the one that is given here, is the one that Printify has created for us. So you don't need to go plugging in your own economic operator, your own address, your own contact. This is all of our point of contact. And now once this is toggled on, if you scroll down under any of your products to the description section, did I miss mine? Yes. You're going to see this button here, which says you can add to the description or you can copy your GPSR for this product. And they are product individual. So if I add a description here, you're going to see we have this one here. This is for the Gildan 18,000. It says where it was made, how to care for it. So you do need to go grab these for each individual product you sell. And now when you come to your listings in Etsy, what you can do is you can select all the ones that this applies to. So if I had all my Gildans, for example, this isn't my print on demand store. I'm just showing you guys this as an example. But say these are all of mine. You can do a search and look up sweatshirt if you have all of your products under sweatshirt, and then grab all of your products. So I have 40 here that use the keyword sweatshirt. Might be difficult if you've used multiple different keywords. You kind of have to go through all of these. But then you can go to editing options, edit descriptions, and then we're going to add to the end, not the beginning. If you add to the beginning, that is where your SEO block is. I'm a little nervous. I do not like to touch my titles, tags, or descriptions if I'm already making sales. Adding to the end should be safe, but perhaps I would do a test on a few of my listings that are already selling first before I do my really, really big ones, just to make sure your SEO didn't get reset. But adding to end should be okay. And then you can paste in your GPSR information here, and then we can hit apply. And you're going to see it's going to apply to the very end of all those descriptions. But one thing you might have noticed in that GPSR is it says explicitly that within the EU, this product now has a 2-year warranty. And that is a massive time frame for a warranty, especially for shirts, sweatshirts, things that can fade, especially over 2 years. And prior to this change, the EU still required that if someone from the EU purchased from you, you have to offer exchanges and returns, even if it's against your shop policies. And Printify is not going to be the one eating those 2-year warranty costs. It is up to the seller, and you are the seller. And unfortunately, that means if you're selling to the EU and someone at a year and 8 months reaches out to you because their shirt ripped, which is pretty possible, you are going to be on the hook for refunding that. And this is my main reason that I right now have just turned off EU shipping. Maybe in the future I'll add it in or I'll go test it. But right now I just don't want to have to worry about that. And especially with all these rules still new and other people figuring it out, I might just give it some time before I try to make my store compliant. Right now I am just taking it off my store. And let me show you how you can do that, or how you can have some shipping profiles that are compliant and then some that are not compliant. So in my Real Print on Demand store, I have one shipping profile that is attached to all of my listings. And so for example, if this was the one here that was applied to all of my listings, first, what I'm going to do before I make any changes, I'm actually going to duplicate this listing just so I have a copy of it without any of the changes yet. But this one is now going to be my non-compliant version, non-GPSR, because again, I'm not planning right now to add in the GPSR. You can keep your other listings if you are making your store compliant. But right now, I don't want to ship to the EU. So this is a choice that you can make. And what I'm going to do is scroll to the bottom here. And you might have United States and then a thing that says everywhere else. And what you're going to do is if you have that location that says everywhere else, you're going to delete that. Because now everywhere else encompasses the EU, which we do not want to sell to. And the biggest upsetting thing right now, and I'm hoping, and I think probably, maybe wishful thinking, that Etsy is going to introduce Northern Ireland as a separate location, because Northern Ireland is included in the UK, but it's also included in the GPSR. So while England we can ship to, we can't ship to Northern Ireland, but they're combined right now in Etsy under the umbrella of the UK. Right here, United Kingdom, and we can't separate them. So unfortunately, right now, I'm also going to have to leave out England, which out of all of these locations is probably the most upsetting one to have to leave out. So I'm having my fingers crossed that with this change, Etsy is going to separate these, similar how they broke out European Union and European non-EU for this. So now I'm going to have to start adding in the countries that I can ship to. So for example, Australia, I would add in. I'd add in another location. Maybe I do New Zealand. And you're going to have to go through all of the ones that you ship to. I would personally just go through all of your last orders and see who's usually ordering from you. I get some Australia. Again, UK was kind of one of my big-ish ones. It's not going to kill me to turn it off, but I'm really hoping it comes back. But this is going to be a little bit more tedious if you have a bunch of countries. So just stick to the big ones for now that are non-EU and not Northern Ireland, aka the UK right now. And now I can save this profile. I have the, again, non-GPSR, so I know this is the one that's also applied to all my current listings. So I'm telling Etsy, I am not selling to the EU. I am not compliant. I don't want to follow those rules. But if you did want to start adding that to your subscription, the EU is big for you, which for many people it is, and you're okay. For the off case, maybe someone is going to come back and ask for a refund. Hopefully this is not abused by people in the EU. Otherwise, people are just going to keep turning off all of their shipping within the EU. But you'll also have that duplicate version that you created that had the everywhere else in it that is compliant. So if you have some listings that are compliant, you can attach your shipping profile that is compliant. And for every other one that does not have your GPSR in the description, the ones that you don't want to ship to the EU, you can apply this one, your non-GPSR shipping profile. I just want to thank Printify for being so on top of this and giving us our own economic operator. This was something I've been following for a little bit, but there was no news on how to go about selling in the EU in the future. But now Printify has made it possible, so we don't have to have our own economic operator or point of contact. So if you use Printify, you can still keep selling to the EU. It's not the end of the world, but it is a lot more complicated. So it is a choice for your store now if it is worth it to deal with some warranty issues in the future, or is it worth just turning off your EU shipping? And I'm going to link the Etsy article for the GPSR in the description and the top of the comments below. Please go read through that yourself. This is something, if you plan to sell to the EU, you should also be doing your own reading. Read the GPSR site as well. You need to understand all the rules and what this encompasses if you plan to stay legal. I hope this covered as much as possible and made this a lot simpler for you guys. But yes, do your own research as well, just to be for sure. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope this helped. If it did, if you could drop a like and subscribe. Thank you guys.